Oh, great. Okay, it's good. And we're ready to start. So I will begin. Hello and uh, welcome to a website for every class. The URL that you can come back to this site for is right here, tinyurl.com, tech10gs. So please use the URL to come to the website if you want to look at it yourself. Aside from my screen share, right now I'm sharing my screen with you and things like that. I'd like to start by thanking New York State TESOL, nice TESOL, and the people who brought this together, Dr. Laura Becker and Christine Rosalia, both of them extremely helpful, and also Roshi Jolly, who is, some of them are here behind the scenes helping to co-host, so I'd like to thank them. So my website for every class presentation site will have everything that you need to start a website on Google or possibly Wix. The basic premise is that I have always used a website every time I've taught a class. I don't think I've taught a class even when I was in my master's program at Hunter. I would make a website for every single class that I taught. So that is the idea, that anybody could do this and anyone can make their own class website, and there are some major advantages to that. I'll go through all of that. But first, let me just outline kind of the basic rules. I have everyone muted for now and probably for a little while, for about the first half an hour or so. I'll just do the talking. I know it's kind of heavy to just have someone talking the whole time and looking. So again, that's why I've given you this tiny URL. You can come to this website and interact with everything. There is also the QR code. That there are two QR codes that you see there. Please use your time to follow me on Twitter. That is totally an acceptable thing to do in the background. And then on the other side over here, we have the return to the website quickly. It's a QR code that, again, if you point your phone camera at it, it should quickly take you to this website whenever you need to go there. So if you wanted to transfer this site to your phone very quickly or share it with someone else, the QR code is there. I don't have a lot of time to go over what QR codes are or how they work. I know not everybody is going to be as comfortable, but there's a link to a TED education talk here on how to use QR codes in class. It's really very fun and smart and has a lot of good ideas for how to make projects that involve QR codes. But I like to include every single one on every single website. I like to have a QR code on every single website. The Zoom link is here, but we don't really need it after a few minutes from now. And while we're doing that, I do want to make sure that I'm admitting people from the waiting room or that everyone is in. Okay, just checking. So again, just to sum up, the site link is here. You can reuse it. Please follow me on Twitter. The QR code is available for sharing the site quickly. We'll come back to that idea. The webinar link is here, but I mean, you're already in, so it's not a big deal. Also, if you clicked on this for every class, there's a link here that I'm not clicking. And in general, I'm going to avoid clicking on videos or using videos at any time, just because it takes a long time for the video to process from my computer to all of your computers. It's tedious to watch videos on a webinar, so all of my videos, we're just going to skip them, but I heartily recommend you to come back to the videos, to come back to the website. This is just a trailer for the concept of a website for every class. It's cute. I made it on iMovie, whatever. All right, moving on to the advantages of using a website for every class. I think it's important that we talk about why we want to use the technology that we're using and what it can do for us. So, I mean, these adjectives basically describe it. It's accessible. Everyone can get the website. You don't need to sign on. Just like this website, you just type in the short URL, or if you can find the long URL, you type it in, you have the website. Imagine having that for your class so that all of your students can just type in one thing, can have a bookmark, can have some app designation on their phone, which is easy to do. They just push the button and they immediately come to the information for your class. It's a major advantage of Google Sites or any site is that it's accessible to everyone. It can also be private though. The nice thing about Google Sites, but again, also other sites such as Wix, is that you can set privacy settings at different levels. If you're already familiar with Google Docs, Google Sheets, all of the Google Suite, the sharing permissions are basically the same. You can share with specific people, you can share when people have the link, or you can share to the whole public. So you can decide if you want your website to be just for your class, if you want your website to be for your entire school or organization, or if you want your website to be for the general public to reach at any time. I do find that making it available to the public is easier for my students because they have multiple emails, and sometimes they're signing in with their own Gmail, sometimes they're not using a sign-in at all, they're just signing in with their phone, and it's easier if it's just public and available on the web, but you have the options. You can share like any Google Doc. These things are incredibly efficient using a website. I use these websites for every class that I teach, so when semesters cycle around or when a class ends and a new class begins, I can take all the information that I had on my previous site, I just copy the website, and then I put in the new information that I need, but basically I can continually use old material or material that's worked really well over and over again on these websites every single time I make another copy. Or if you keep one website, you can take information on and off and copy and paste it in. So in that sense, it's really easy for students to use, to see, because they're very comfortable most of the time with accessing the kinds of things that you find on websites, YouTube videos, files, Google Doc suites, all those things are there, easily added. But it's especially easy for teachers once you get the hang of it, because you can take everything that you have or other resources from other teachers, like Google videos, like other websites that you can embed into your website. All of these things you can add onto your own site. Finally, and this is super important to me, but maybe not to so many other people, but paperlessness for me is a moral and aesthetic value, right? Aesthetically, I have seen desk drawers of teachers that are just full of old and rotten handouts, lockers that are full of old books that nobody uses and things like that. We all have lots of junk in our lives. And one great way to kind of slim down on all of that and to also reduce the amount of toner that we're using, the amount of time at the copy machine and all of that, is to just have a website and have everything on there. I know now in this time of crisis, this argument is a much easier sell than it was before. This idea that we shouldn't have paper, that we don't even really need textbooks, certainly not as much as we once did. This has become something that when everybody's in their own home and we don't have a place to distribute paper, it becomes less of something that has to be sold to everyone. But I really do think paperlessness is the way that we have moved and should continue to move. As I said, I won't be showing videos. So this video, which I call the technology pre-buttal, is about the internet and why the internet is a great thing. It's from Adam Ruins Everything. It's funny, it's witty. I recommend that you take a look at that again on your own time. Since you're muted, take a look at it on your phone, have a laugh, and you can come back to it later. All right, so in general for the site, I have a pre-survey for everyone, and I have a discussion board attached to the website. So the website has two main pages. I'm going to scroll back up to the top so we can see the menu. And here on the side, we have the home page and we have the discussion page. The discussion page links to a Padlet, which we will come back to. But in the Padlet, we have, very important, if you'd like to become a New York State TESOL member, or you'd like to see their new website, that's over here on the Padlet attached to the discussion site. And then there are places for you to ask questions. There's also this technology survey. So again, to find that, you just go to the discussion page of the website. There are only two pages on the website, the main page and the discussion page. And again, if we were doing this in physical space, in a different context, I would have everyone fill out the pre-survey and we could go over the answers at a certain time. But again, in the interest of time and things like that, we won't. I'll just click the link to show you where it goes. It goes into the Padlet. And then when you get to the Padlet, you just click on this technology survey and you can answer it here in the Padlet, or you can answer it by following the poll. It's just a Google poll about how you feel about technology. I will post the answers for everyone to look at. Actually, the answers post automatically in this area. A spreadsheet of your answers will post over here. And you can take a look at it through there. All right, so before I start in earnest, I know we've started already, but before we start the actual looking at the sites and how the sites are organized, I want you to know that Google offers more free training and that those links are available right here. So you can click on this icon for Google in Education. You can click here. Google in Education and the training that they offer is it can be many, many hours. I know it's 6 hours of testing, but now we all have a lot more time than we once did. And they have modules on everything that Google for Education, like all Google Suites, all things like that. Google Sites is just a small part of that. But again, you don't have to feel like this is the one time someone's going to explain this to you. You can certainly come back to this site, go to Google to look for training and things like that. But let's look at how to start your own site and the basic steps that you need for connecting people to the site. Those things are listed both here. And I have a short video that, again, I don't want to play. I'll push the play button, but I'm going to talk over it, and there's no sound from it anyway. So you can kind of see what's happening here in this side video, how you begin. This is how I begin using my single sign-on at the new school. So not everyone's going to have a single sign-on from their company. Not everyone is going to have Google integrated with their organization. But the new school does, and that makes it a little bit easier for me, as does the public library where I also work. They use Google Suite automatically. So my new school address, my address for the public library, those are Gmail addresses. And you can see right here, you sign in but you can do this for any Google account, sign in with your regular Google account like you were checking a Gmail. This step that should appear in a moment is unique to the new school, but depending on your organization, you may have an intermediate step such as this. If you do, you sign in the way you always would and make your way to sites.google.com/new, which again is linked on the website. You should see something like this. And then if you get to this site, you want to make sure you go to the new Google sites. It's not a huge thing. Just type in sites.google.com/new, and you will come to all of your websites, as you can see in the small video here. Once you're there, this will have the list of sites that you actually have, so you can see that. And then in the bottom corner, there'll be a place for you to click to create a new Google site. And then the site is started. I actually just opened that up in another window here, and this is the kind of thing that you'll have, right? This is your site inside of Google Sites. You went to sites.google.com, you push this thing, you got a new site, and your website is ready for your class, for whatever it is. You put the name of your class, you can change the image related to that site, and this space generally just works like any kind of document, like a Word doc or something like that would work. You type in the text boxes that you find, and you can add pictures and things like that quite easily. These menus over here allow you to add text, images, embed things from the web or things from Google Drive. Same thing, if you just click twice, you get the same wheel that gives you add an image, add something from your computer, add something from Google Drive, embed things, or add text, right? You have a variety of layouts available. And then there's a couple extra features here that you can explore. They're not major features. Most of them are inserting things from the Google Suite that you might already have. Your Google Charts, your Google Forms, your Google Sheets, your Google Docs, a Google Map if you like. Your Google Calendars can be added. You can search through YouTube and find a video, add that to your website. So again, all the inserting and the basics of that are just laid out in one easy menu. You can add pages to your website. Right now, this website only has one page. You hit plus, and then you get a new page. You name the page. Let's say we wanted to add a homework page, as I'll show you in my examples. And you've labeled your page. Right, so you just hit plus here at the bottom for pages, homework, you have a new page. You can add as many pages as you want. I don't know that there's necessarily a large limit. The themes, are the final thing, but probably one of the easiest. You don't have to obsess on Google Sites about what your fonts look like. If you just want to change the look of your site, with one click, a whole new set of fonts is available, a whole new set of colors. This is very easy, one click, all those kinds of things. So again, the three basic menus for when you start your site are, what do you want to insert? Text, image, something from your Google Drive. What pages do you have? Creating more pages is quite easy. Just hit plus. Then you have a new page. You can also navigate through the pages, homework page, new page, right? Like that. I'll show you more complicated things in a minute. And the look and theme of your website can change instantly and quickly. No need to obsess over each individual font or things like that. If you want to fine tune it a little bit, you can, but the nice thing about Google Sites is it's very easy to work with. Again, if you have questions about this as we go, please feel free to use the Padlet to add questions here. Please feel free to use the chat and I'll take a look at it when I open everything up for questions. All right, so there are some basic steps to getting your site to be accessible to everyone. So as it says here, the steps to building a site so everyone can see it are sign in with Google. Number one, use your Gmail, use your school's Gmail, things like that. Go to sites.google.com/new. Choose an existing site like we've just made, or click the plus circle in the bottom right corner to make a new site. Once you publish your site, and we'll get into that again, right here, you click publish, and it will generate an address for you or allow you to choose an address, which we can get to. Once your site has an address and it's published, you should go to a URL shortener like tinyurl.com or bit.ly or something. This way your students have an easy way of accessing it, right? Looking at the very top of the screen here, the real address for this class is sites.google.com/view/tech10 site presentation/home. It's a long URL that you don't want to be telling your students. Instead, it's easier to go to a URL shortener and have something shorter. Then you can go to a QR code generator and connect your URL to the QR code so that students can just instantly take an image, as we do up here, take an image and get to your site automatically. So they're just going to take the image, point their phone at that, and they'll be able to get to the site instantaneously. So now, this is kind of the basics of setting up a Google site. I'll quickly mention that you could also use Wix. As it says, by clicking here, you just go directly to wix.com, and they can design a site for you that you can then customize later, but you just put in some basic parameters and they'll just generate a website. It's more complicated to use, but it's an option for people who might not want to spend as much time setting up a site. I'm gonna take a quick pause here for questions before I move on to examples. So I'm going to unmute everyone and let people ask a few questions just for like a minute or two. All right, here we go. This might be cool. Let me actually, I'm going to mute you and I'm going to check the chat function unless, hold on one second.
No.
Oh, Lord. Unmuting was a bad idea. Rosie, can you mute? Okay, Chris Hope has a question. This is hard. Oh yeah, participants, sorry. So actually, it's probably just best if you put the questions in the chat, because I can answer them without as much chaos there. So someone said, can students add video or audio in response to Google Sites? Having students add things to the site is an extra step that we can talk about, but in general, a site is just gonna be a public-facing thing that pushes your information out. Inside the site, you can incorporate things like a Google Doc that is open for people to write on. You can incorporate a Padlet like I have right here. Right, so here we're looking at the Padlet. Actually, this is where I should have gone. Everyone can go to this Padlet if they like. It's under the discussion section. So you click on the discussion menu. And then on the discussion page of the website, if you click on the word discussion or the Padlet, it takes you to the Padlet. And if you have a question about Google for Education training, you hit plus here and then type your question. If you have a question about Google Sites, you can hit plus there, and you can do things like that. And this can be used even after the site is there. So what do I think is better, Google or Wix? I use Wix for my portfolio because I don't know why. I want my portfolio to be a bit more flashy and I want more control over my portfolio. But I really do feel that Google is better for most classroom applications, just because it's simpler to put together. There's less worry about layers and fonts and all the kinds of technical things. Google is much less technically difficult. It's just a lot easier to use Google. Again, all the menus are in one simple place, as we see there. So I feel like Google is better for that. Google is also better for copying. It's faster to copy the sites. It's better for sharing. You're using all the Google share permissions. So again, I offer anyone here, and I'll go back to the Padlet. If anyone here would like a copy of a site that I have made, I can make you a copy from a template quite easily. You just need to send me your Gmail. Just hit this plus button here and leave your Gmail. Ask me for, like, please send me a copy of a site kind of thing, and then put your, Gmail address in there, and I can send it to you after the presentation is fully over. I want to get to there's a question in the chat also about, and this is the last question I want to take for now, and then I want to get to my examples. But there's a question about discussions, how discussions can happen. And again, like I said, the Google site itself doesn't have any place for discussion, any place for interaction necessarily. You would have to add that place in. So you could add in a Padlet like I just did. It's easy to link that Padlet, embed it in your site, or put a link to the Padlet inside your site. At the New School, we use Canvas. So I often connect Canvas to my site. I'll show you that actually in the examples. Other schools use things like Blackboard or things like that. You could connect those links to those discussions into your website and then manage those discussions elsewhere. If you wanted to have discussions on your website, there are lots of other apps or things that you could use. Of course, you could just use a running Google Doc that you could moderate. You could use other kinds of chatting apps or things like that and embed them into your site. But the website itself is just going to be a vessel for everything. Thank you, Michael, for asking for a copy of the site. I will check the chat, but the best place to put those things is in the discussion section. So now that you're all kind of familiar with it, feel free to click on this at any time. If you're using your phone, if you're using your computer in another window, come back to this discussion area and add those things. Okay, so coming back here to some examples of sites that I have. Now, these sites are available for you to look at. You're more than free to ask for copies of them, and I will see how I can do it. I have used these sites in a number of different kinds of programs. I began using them in the master's program at Hunter, and now I use them in New York Public Library and the New School MHUSL Outreach program. I use them in these community-based programs, and I've used them at all levels. So this is my current, the current site that I use is actually a complete sample copy just for the website, designed to remove any extra student information. So I made a copy quite easily just for this presentation. And if you come here to this site, this QR code will bring you directly there. If you use your phone, it brings you to the sample site, as it says, NYPL sample. If you click on the site, it will take you to the New York Public Library site that I use. At the public library, I do not actually reuse my sites. I use one site for that class. It's a site-specific site, so it's just for the Dongan Hills branch, and it's just for the level 6 class, just say aloud, just for the level 6 class that I teach on Tuesdays and Thursdays, which at the moment is on break between cycles. So right off the bat, my students might be looking for information from the previous cycle, because I changed the website for when classes will resume, maybe on the 28th, we're not sure, probably not, but you know, one can hope. And then I'm ready for class number 1 with some sequences for what we would do in class. This is on the home page of this website. So on the home page, I generally like to have a sequence, or if I have special instructions for tasks, or here, the welcome slides. You can't see these slides because you don't have permission, but those slides are embedded into the site for students to see on the first day of class because the library wants to show those slides, and I put them there. Here's a video that I have immediately there for students for the first day of class, right? Here's a link to some tasks and spreadsheets, right? More information for students. All of that is available on the home screen. That's what I use the home page for. Basic information about the class, basic ideas about what we're doing in a given class on any day, so class 1. I have a calendar page, which is the next page I'm clicking on. And on the calendar page, I've linked a Google Calendar for my class. Obviously, we're not doing anything now, but if we look back in time, we can see the classes that we were supposed to have during the epidemic. We don't have them, but this is achieved by using a Google Calendar. Maybe your school already has a Google Calendar. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can use your school's Google Calendar and link that here. Or you can make a specific Google Calendar for your classes and put that onto a calendar page. The homework page. This is the homework that was assigned before the epidemic, but I always keep one page dedicated to homework. This way I write down all the homework assignments, and my students are never wondering what the homework is, right? We have lots of ways of doing this. Sure, you can put it on Blackboard or Canvas or things like that, but those things require sign in, and they're not as easy to access as a website. And so students can just access this, they know where it is, they see it, and all of the homework can be linked here, or the homework assignments can be posted there. Here was a Google poll that I put through that you can see. So that is the homework page. On this particular site, I've collected videos for pronunciation, videos that we've used in class, and I put them all in one place. So if students want to watch the videos again. Now, mind you, I did all of this long before the epidemic. I've been doing this for actually like 2 or 3 years or more. And so at this site, I started doing this last year. So again, my students have always had access to these kinds of videos, but now that they can't come to class, they can just see all of these videos that are related to things that were covered in class. There's some karaoke, songs for grammar, all of that. All of those videos are on one page of the website, easy for students to access. This photo page is the next page I'm going to go to. And the photo page, I use Google photo sharing. And this is one way that you can have students interact, right? There's one way that you could have students interact is through a photo sharing page. This page is linked. It's not actually part of the website, but it's linked to the website. And then I have a sample version of this with only pictures of me, not pictures of students. For privacy purposes, that's my niece over here playing in the park. Some of this is student work, like student artwork, student meals, but having a photo sharing album allows students to share things from their life. It allows you as the teacher to share things like vocabulary, pictures from the board, right? And all of this is inside of the photo page collected together. I have a documents page. The documents page allows us to share handouts. Here, it just happens to be a calendar, but sometimes schools have a lot of different handouts, attendance policies. For the public library, we have things in 5 or 6 different languages. You can put them all into a Google Drive folder, which is what this box is, just a Google Drive folder. You slip it into the folder and it appears automatically on your website. Some of you are probably saying, wait, oh no, oh my God, how do you do that? What's going on? Back to the original site, right? If this were your website, you can insert and you would choose Drive, Google Drive. This is my actual Google Drive from the new school. We'll see what pops up. And when you put a folder, like, you know, okay, let's put the Iceland folder. Okay, and then I'm gonna hit insert. And now everything that's in my folder from my trip to Iceland, which is just an order, okay? But anyway, anything that's in that file will automatically appear in a file on your website. So that's how that looks back here, right? Then you would just get all of that. So you don't even have to update the website. You just keep adding things to the folder and they keep appearing in that place on the website. Really useful. I always include a teacher bio. So there's my bio. And I think students really like that. It includes contact information. And then this is probably one of the best things that I like about the library, because we go back through previous cycles in the library. I have included copies of the old websites embedded. So the winter website is linked and a table of contents is provided as well. But all the stuff that we had done in the previous cycle is just copied onto here. It's really easy to do this. Once you get the hang of it, you can copy, this is the, right? So we did stuff on the census just before the epidemic. At the end of the winter, we did some aspects of infinitives. Sorry, that's gonna scroll by quickly. This is a reading assignment that we did in the winter. So again, when students are looking for that, they can go to the menu called Prior Cycles at the top here in the menu. And then when they're there, they can find those things. All right, so this should be, most of the time for examples is pretty much over, but I do want to just go over 1 or 2 more. So here is the basic class at the Staten Island Library. I don't have time to go through this, so you can take a look at it. The whole class is there for you to take a look at. This is the outreach program at the new school. Actually, this is not their exact site. This is, again, a sample site, as it says here. It's a copy of their site. We're basically doing some of the same things. One of the things that's different about this class is, and if we click on it, I'm going to teach this coming Saturday. One of the things that's different about this class is, for this class, we use Padlet for discussion. So when my students click on the discussion board, should be coming up on the top. These are the things that they'll be doing. Pardon. Here it is. When my students click on the discussion board at the very top, they'll click on discussion board and it will take them to a Padlet, the same way that it happens here. So students can collaborate on that Padlet through the discussion board for that class. Okay, and it'll link to a discussion board, not unlike this one. In fact, I think that actually links to this discussion board because it's a sample. Academic classes. At the new school, I've taught a number of academic classes through the IEP program. The most recent one, post-human nuclear experience. Complicated topic. This is not just like basic grammar. It was reading. We were using film. We were using the miniseries Chernobyl. We were using manga, movies. A lot of different things had to be incorporated, but because of the website, I was able to do that. And we can take a quick look at it, but it is a more complicated class. It will load for a minute. Again, I had students explore environmental topics related to the reading, and the final project for this class was to have students make their own websites. Another thing that I like to incorporate, have students make their own websites. Those are linked in here. Here you can see how I've linked it to Canvas, which we use at the New School. So their discussion board just links to a Canvas discussion board, and you have to have Canvas permission to access that. So like it says here, we'll use the discussion board on Canvas. They click this link and it will go directly to that class's discussion board. Only people who possess the permissions for that will be allowed to do it, because it's a link that the students, that links through Canvas, and that's just the way it is. So they kind of do that. So back to the main site. I have also taught a reading class there and listening and speaking classes, which in the listening and speaking class and the reading class, we use flashcards for vocabulary. So these can be, again, the weird thing about a website is it's kind of everything. You can put everything on there. And so what we put on there were spreadsheets, collaborative spreadsheets, where students put the vocabulary words. And then from there, we could make cram.com flashcards. You can use Quizlet. You can use lots of other things. But the website was the place where they got the information. They had the sheet embedded in the website. Then they got it. They did the homework. And then they got the flashcards. How they get the flashcards, those also went onto the website. And so students were able to not just study vocabulary in this manner, but practice it. They could have tests. They could have things like that. As I said, final projects for 2 of my classes were students make their own websites. Each of these on here, which you cannot access, are student websites that students did for individual reading projects. They talked about their reading, and from some basic instructions and using my website as an example, they made their own websites. They were phenomenal. If you want to see some examples of those websites and learn more about how I've used this for project-based learning, I gave a presentation at the ALWC just, again, before the pandemic struck. And there's a video of that, and there's a whole website for that that you can also link to here. And that is everything that I have to show you. And now I guess now I would open it up for questions. So I don't mind, maybe I'll unmute you and let you unmute yourself. If you have a question, you can now join into a regular kind of discussion.
Leah.
How come I can't remute people? Roshi, I'm sorry I have to call on you again.
I think that being kind the first time within the parameters of the policy, right? If you did, when you deviate from the policy.
Oh, Nidia?
Yeah, okay.
Okay, good. I can hear you.
So one question that I have before the workshop started, it was about your signature, the Q something, I don't even know the name.
The QR code.
Yeah, how you get that, how you embed it, how everything.
Yeah, sure. QR codes are really useful, and it's a little bit outside of what we're doing here. So I included a video. If you can see on my website, you can see on your screen now. Hold on, it's going to load. There we are. You see the QR code is over here. Underneath, there's a video on how you can use them and how you can make them and things like that. My recommendation, though, in general, it's actually quite simple. Just type in QR code generator, and it's very easy from there. Like just type in QR code generator to like a search engine, and you can make a QR code for anything.
I have a question or just a request.
Please, go ahead.
Yeah, would you be sending us any kind of, maybe just, if you could just email me what your website is, or even a PowerPoint presentation of this? To be honest, I'm older. Let me just finish, sir. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah.
I am, a lot of this stuff kind of goes over my head at this point. I'm sort of old school with this, so, and I've had to change rapidly because of COVID. So
Of course.
So basically that's why I'm requesting, like, you know, something where if I could go over some of this stuff a bit more slowly, I think it would sink in better.
Absolutely. You have it already. Can you see on your screen?
Where,
I've highlighted the words tinyurl.com/tech10gs.
wait, hold on a second. Let me get, I'm looking on the phone, but I have to make the other, oh, I see, tinyurl.com/tech10gs.
Yes.
That's it?
That,
Okay.
that will take you right back to this website, and everything that's on the website is available for everyone to look at. There are tutorial videos. Yeah, I mean, I know this is a 30-minute thing and it's really fast, and I'm really happy or willing to give more seminars on this as, you know, moving forward or things like that. But everyone can access everything that I have talked about right here at tinyurl.com/tech10gs, or using your phone, you can just aim that at the computer screen or your phone screen and use the QR code to take you to this website directly. So if you're using it now, you could take a screenshot. You have everything. And if you received an email for this, you should have this link already. If not, it is in the chat. It should be on the discussion board. I'll make sure it gets to you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Other questions? Feel free again to unmute yourself, or if you in the chat. Okay, so someone asked, when I place books in the on the site, are those books readable? So here in the reading class, again, links are links. So it depends on what you want to link to. If you have books in your Google Drive, like you have a textbook that you know you can do, I don't really care about copyright. I mean, I probably shouldn't say that, but I'm not a lawyer and I'm not concerned. But if you have the rights to a book, or you know that the book's rights are available in Google Drive, if you have it, you can just post the PDFs of books or things like that. What I did here, the Nuclear Experience website, the manga that we read, Springtime in Chernobyl and Nausicaa, the Valley of the Wind, these link to ways for students to buy the books. Although I do have digital copies of those, I wasn't going to violate copyright law and just put the whole book on there. But again, if your site is private for just you and a small group of students, if you're not profiting, if it's fair use, there are also many, you know, scenarios. But you could load an entire book or a whole set of books or a whole library onto your website. That's not a problem. Just, you know, be careful about how you and your school use things that are copyrighted. Let me see. I'm trying to get there it is. If there are more questions in the chat, I'll be happy to address them. Or again, you can unmute yourself at any time.
Hi, Chris. I had
Hi.
a question about, I loved your idea about students making their own website. Can you say a little bit about any scaffolding that you think would be helpful for teachers who wanted to do something similar? Like, what do you think students need? And
Students need very little to make their own way. I know it's kind of silly to say, but I was lucky at the new school when I did this. And again, the whole process for me doing this is outlined. I actually wrote a 20-page paper that I should publish somewhere. But if you go to this digital PBL workshop, and that's connected, this workshop is linked here. I walk through every single step that I took in building the PBL workshop, having students make their own website. And if I put this on the results page of that website, you can see the student sites. And in fact, they are amazing sites. Let me just click on my favorite one, Dystopia. So again, the students pulled this theme out of what we were watching. We watched the Chernobyl miniseries. We watched the movie Naushka of the Valley of the Wind, and then they just took the idea and ran with ideas about what is dystopia. They took things like, oh, Chernobyl, Fukushima, Western America, like the gold rush and kind of things like that. What does dystopia mean? And then they had videos from their favorite movies. They connected books and movies that they had watched, and they had assembled all that onto the website. Now, how did I get students to do that? What was the scaffolding like? Again, I recommend you take a look at this paper, which, I have to change the permissions for that paper. It's good to know. And I will. I wrote a paper about how I did that. But regardless, my new school students were already designers. They had never worked with Google Sites. But I said, all right, here are the basics. I generally showed them what I showed you guys. And let me see, where was that? I showed them what I showed you guys, and then like we can go down here. This is the class website. This is actually the class website, not even a sample of it. So this is the class website for Nuclear Experience, where they made their own websites. And around the time of the midterm, I posted this here, building your sites. It'll show up right there, building your sites. And I said, everyone's gonna build one site per group. I gave them that video that I showed you guys about how to start a site. And then I gave them some samples, like some example websites from the previous semester. And of course, they had been watching me use class websites the whole semester. They've been watching me do it. So modeling is a major thing, you using the class website yourself. And then, like, I think it would be really terrible if a teacher said, all right, kids or adults, whoever you are, make a class website and then not use a class website in their own class. That would be terrible. To just use it as a project and not have modeled it for the students. But that's what we got. All right. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fantastic. So I think to use it yourself, and then at a certain point, if you find that your students are following it, then perhaps kind of open it up to them, like, hey, why don't you guys show me what you can do? So I think that's, yeah. And your students were language level, would you say?
Again, let's see. The ones where I've had them make their own, they were at a fairly decent intermediate level. Like, they were definitely not complete beginners, but even with beginners, I wouldn't shy away from this, because nothing stops you from allowing the students to make the website controls be in their native language. Like, Google is a universal tool pretty much. I mean, I know it doesn't have anywhere near every language in the world, but it has most of the languages that our students will be interacting with. So if you had a set of basic students, you could let them build a site in English, but all the controls and the menus are in Chinese or Spanish or Arabic, or those things are available. So, you don't have to let language be a barrier or proficiency be a barrier.
That's beautifully answered. Thanks.
Roshi is pointing out in the chat that we've been using podcasts for in the outreach program, and that is true. I've really enjoyed that. So flipping class and having students listen to an entire podcast, and then we talk about it, or we deal with the vocabulary after the fact. And again, websites make that easier because we can link the entire podcast there. I'll show you how that was done in the outreach program. Again, this is the class I teach on Saturdays from 11 to 1. We still do it on Zoom. This week we're going to do yoga and fitness. Exciting. But in the class the week before this, we used Freakonomics Radio. And so as you can see here, the podcast was linked and they were able to look at the podcast, listen to the whole thing. Thankfully, the podcasts for Freakonomics all have the transcript directly embedded with every single one. So students can listen and watch, and if they have a word that they don't know or something, we is a bad example, economist is a decent one, right? They can always look up words while they are looking at the transcript on their thing. It comes up in Japanese translation because I am studying Japanese, but you know, another amazingly good way to use the site. So again, it's weird because everything can go on a website, right? There are lots of lessons and possibilities. Keeping the website as like a frame, as like a kind of folder into which you can put all of your materials, that's kind of the thing that I'm going for. All right.
Yeah. Could I ask you a quick question, Chris?
Please.
Yeah, I was wondering if there's maybe a YouTube video that I could watch of just to get a sense of how it could be done. It would be great if I had a visual of somebody using a website to teach a class as opposed to, I just thought of this now. I mean, I'm getting something certainly out of hearing you describe how it's done, but watching it being done could be an interesting way to learn about it.
Right. So if you look at your screen now, as I said at the very beginning, Google offers a lot of real training for this, right? One half-an-hour webinar is not even close. This is a sample of what you can do and some basics about how you could just get started on your own. If you're comfortable with it, and you know what? You don't even really need to be that comfortable, because if you make a website, no one's going to see it until you're ready, right? Like no one's going to find your website until you put it on the internet. So
well,
you can experiment.
I'm not even asking exactly how to put together the website. I'm just wanting to see how it's used in a classroom situation. If there's a video to watch, that's what I'm asking. Not to put it together, but you know, to sort of watch a teacher who has a website in front of a group using the website. So,
right, and I would happily invite all of you to my physical classes to observe me, which I've always been happy to do. Unfortunately, that doesn't exist at the moment, but as soon as it does, you know, keep an eye out, because, you know, anyone could observe me at any time. I'm always happy to have people come in and see how I use the website in class. There are some videos, if you look through the whole website, you will find some videos of that, like, especially if you use the PBL site at the end. I definitely have a couple videos of me interacting with the students.
On your tinyurl website, you have that. If you
on the website that we see, yeah, the Google site that we see right here. And again, like I said, if you click on this Google in Education link here, it takes you to an entire universe of like training in using and all these products, not just like, you know, practically how to put them together, but like how to actually use them and how they are.
And that
designed.
website, you said it before, I know, but I just want to write it.
You just click over here. You can just look for Google in Education or Google for Education training.
Okay, just Google for Education training or Google in Education training.
Yeah. And those links are both here.
Put that on
the screen.
Okay.
Like you can click on those links.
Thank you.
Yeah, oh, you're welcome, of course. Again, I want to spend a little bit more time in the discussion Padlet in case, just to encourage people to use this as a way for us to interact, because our time will be up. So over here again, this keeps having to reload itself. So under this section, if you want to take the technology survey, it would actually be nice and fun for me if you took the survey. You just come to the Padlet, which is again going through my website and then clicking on the discussion page. The Google Training for Education, the links are here also. So if you click on this, that will take you to Google for Education training. Google Sites questions, just to go to Google Sites, you can click there. If
this is all on your website, Chris? This is all there.
I think, you know, anybody here is certainly welcome to contribute to the Padlet. You just have to hit the plus button in any column, and then you can write any questions that you have here. People have already, thankfully, asked for copies of sites, and I will happily send those to those people, to those Gmails. If you want to become a member of New York State TESOL, sponsoring these things, or if you want to see their new New York State TESOL website. Those are both linked also in the discussion Padlet. And this will be here, you know, for all time. So you're welcome to use this website and these resources and ask questions. And I will check this to answer people's questions in the future. Okay, so I think there's about 5 minutes left. Unless there are any last questions, I will say thank you. Let me make sure we have the chat. Okay, so shall I end it? Unless they have any other questions. Thank you so much. Sorry, it's kind of a little awkward. And again, if you have other questions or things like that, please remember to come back to this Padlet. You can ask any extra questions can be directed here, or of course you can send them to my email, which is at the bottom of the main site. Let me put my email up on the screen just so everyone can see it. The discussion page, as you can see, that's open. It will be open until, I don't know, Padlet shuts those things down. I don't know how long those things last. And then at the very bottom, I'll leave my... Okay, there we go.
CNA, oh, okay.
xophernesl@gmail.com is my general ESL Gmail.
That's kind of small. Can you make it a little? I can't make it. Yeah, that's, I can't still. What is it? I see exo fairness. Okay, thanks.
Sorry, Teresa. I mean, I have time for the question. What are you practicing speaking sites? Do you want to? You can unmute.
Yeah, thanks. Sorry, I was trying to add it up to the Padlet, and there was just, it was laggy on my end, so I apologize.
Oh yeah, I know this.
So the question I have is, so how do you, what kind of apps have you used to make speaking interactive for students? Because certainly all mine are, you know, we're all virtual, and I want to encourage more speaking for my students. They're high school students.
I can't say, like, in terms of teaching online classes, like, this is weird because all my classes and the things like this are for blended situations where people are going to be in the classroom, and I'm using this to organize this. It's serving as a really good bridge between between, like, you know, regular classes and things like that. Someone here is recommending Flipgrid. I recall from my master's time using VoiceThread, and certainly Padlet allows you to put voices, like to put voice stuff in there. At this point, I teach only, I teach some really kind of smaller academic classes, and I'm not having that much of a problem on Zoom because it's like not really more than like 10 or 12 people, and sometimes as few as 8 per class. So it's easy to talk to everyone just on Zoom, which I despise. I really hate this Zoom crap. But yeah, otherwise, I don't know. I mean, I'm sorry I don't have a good answer for that.
Yeah, Flipgrid is good, but my students are shy. They don't love to video themselves. Well, not, you know, among their peers anyway. So what was the other one? VoiceThread? I'll try that.
I don't know. I mean, VoiceThread, I don't even know. I know it was included with our suite a long time ago. It may have morphed into other things. But VoiceThread is something that allows you to record your voice in like in a sequential way, and you can respond instead of kind of like the way WhatsApp has, or even regular text messages have that record your voice instead of send the text message thing.
Oh, interesting. All right. So
and in fact, WhatsApp could be used that way. Like you could have a WhatsApp group with your students and have them record something rather than write it.
Oh, very good. I'll check it out. Thank you so much.
Oh, of course. All right. So I'm gonna end the meeting. I will thank you all. And of course, thanks to New York State TESOL, and and all of that. I'll leave the website for every class open in case you want one last screenshot. Don't forget to come back here, tinyurl.com, tech10gs, and thank you so much. Goodbye.